lot of people want to be famous, but I never wanted to be famous.
All right, Kobi Mahat, thank you so much for joining me on 20 Minute Leaders.
I'm really happy to be here.
Okay, this is so great. You know, I actually grew up watching you on TV. I grew up in Tel Aviv, watching the Children's Channel and Ashminiya and Apijamat and all the different shows that you got to be a part of. And we actually I actually got to study under your command in a program where you taught us how to act in front of a camera. So it's nice to close this loop after all these years.
I actually taught you, I think, how to host, not to act. And there's a big difference that you can remember from acting and hosting. It's a completely different profession.
So it sounds like I already failed my first test after all these years.
There are no scores here.
No scores here. That's amazing. So Kobi, you know, a tank commander in the army, going on to study psychology and organizational behavior in your master's, and all of a sudden you find yourself as one of the biggest stars in Israel on the children's show, practically an idol for every kid growing up in Israel. I have to understand how this whole sequence came about.
Well, it was virtually a mistake. It wasn't meant to be. I was going to be. My route since I was, I think, 15 was I wanted to be a psychologist. Ever since my mother took me to a book fair and bought me The Origins of Dreams of Sigmund Freud. I don't know if that's the name of the book. Anyways, those two books sort of paved the way for me to be a psychologist. That's what I thought I wanted to be. That's what I started studying after I was done with the army. I think 3 months after I was done with the army, I already joined the Tel Aviv University and started studying. And what happened is, between the first and the second degree, a friend of mine just thought that we had the same sense of humor. That was very nice of him to think we had a sense of humor to begin with. Anyways, we wrote something very naive, and he sent it to all kinds of broadcasters. And one of them, a very famous one in Israel, a major broadcaster in Israel, Keshet, decided that it was pretty good, and they were not going to produce it, but they're looking for new writers for a TV show, and we became writers. Right at the beginning,
started off in writing.
Time TV. And ever since, I just started writing until today. I'm writing for a lot of adults and kids shows, and I went to the Children's Channel just to write. And they told me that I should host. I didn't know I was able to host.
Wow. Okay, so you're writing.
I was willing to jump to the really deep end of the water.
So and how quick was this transition? So you go there to write, and all of a sudden you find yourself a host. How quickly does it go from 0 to 60? And
it was pretty quick.
An icon.
It was pretty quick. It was 2000. And in 2000, there was only one children's channel in Israel. So if you were one of the hosts, you were a mega hit between the kids and their parents immediately. And in 2000, it was pretty quick, becoming a huge success from 0 to 100 in no time.
Insane. So Kobi, try to summarize this whole experience for me. You know, you go on daily on this children's channel, and you are an icon and you're a role model. How old are you at that point? I
was 27. I was pretty old for a children's TV presenter. I was 27. I always had sort of a baby face, so nobody really knew. But I was pretty old. 27 is.
But Kobi, that's a lot of responsibility. Like you're taking on this innate responsibility. You're not just a host. You're a role model for kids growing up, in everything you do, when you walk down the street and the things you say on TV, on and off camera, do you feel that responsibility, or is it like
you know what? I think everybody was over exaggerating the role model thing. I think the guidelines I had, and I always told other hosts that came after me, was just pure common sense. If I was standing in the street and I wanted to cross the road, I would go and wait for the green light. Maybe as an adult, sometimes I could, you could cut some corners and cross on the red light, but I took it upon myself to understand that some kids and their parents may be standing and watching me, but that was about it. You shouldn't exaggerate. I was over 20, 27. I could drink alcohol in parties. It's okay. I wasn't alarmed if a paparazzi caught me drinking. It's okay. I'm old enough. So everything within limits, just pure common sense.
And talk to me about this, about writing. So you transition from being a host there. You're writing for a lot of different shows. You appear in a lot of these shows as an actor yourself. What is it about this writing that really caught your attention? Because again, you were going to be a psychologist. You were going for organizational behavior. Where does this writing aspect come from?
Well, I think it's a bug. It's a bug in the system, and it's a bug that it's some sort of a tick that when it hits you, and if it's right for you, it's really hard. It's a pandemic, A lot of people want to be famous, but I never wanted to be famous. Still, my main attraction to this area to this career is not being famous. So what I really liked is you didn't have to have any intermediate between you and the audience. It was very, forward. You could have touched them. It was very, very immediate. And I never knew I wanted to do it. Sometimes you're very talented in something you have not tried yet. Maybe you're a great cook or a great knitter. I don't know if you tried knitting. Have you tried it?
Never in my life.
Maybe you're very talented in it.
Maybe.
And maybe someday someone who's a great knitter will find this talent in you, and you'll become a knitter. Oh, I should change my name. It's not my name here. Okay, it's Kobi Mahat or
on the Zoom it was Nissim or something. Wait, so but Kobi, I want to go to this moment where you're writing a show or you're writing a movie and you work on it for years and you cast and you get funding. And
I never work on anything for years. Never.
Really?
Yes. In the last 6 years, I've written and directed 6 movies. 6 movies in 6 years. And I think that's an Israeli record. I'm all for immediate satisfactions. I'm envious of people that can wait and dream and sit on their ideas for so long. I'm very, very fast. When I'm getting into a new production, I'm going in there like a bulldozer. Sometimes you have to attract sponsors.
Yeah.
Invest in the movie. I'm not shy of begging people, of making presentation, of anything. But I think that my record speaks for itself.
That's unbelievable. 6 movies, and just Avatar, I think, took 30 years to produce. But
it's a great movie, and I'm not even in. It's not the same level. I'm not.
No, of course, but
to say, but Israel is a very small country, and we have only, I don't know, about 9 million people. That's the population. It's very small. So the budgets for the movies are really small. But as an Israeli, and everybody who has done anything in Israel, whether it's being a tank commander in the Israeli army or making a movie, you know that we know how to make $1.50 out of $1. Definitely. And I always say also, especially here in my community in Silicon Valley and Stanford, when they ask me, well, what is it about like Israelis that like the number one thing? I mainly say we get shit done. That's what it's about at the end. That's true.
It is true. But Kobi, so still, you work on a movie for a year and it hits the theaters. It's the premiere. You're sitting down with your friends, your family, the sponsors and the audience. and this movie starts, is there a fear in you of how people will react to it? How are people going to react to your masterpiece?
There's excitement, and the excitement stems also from a little bit from fear.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in some sense, I consider myself an artist, and the artist, when you put your art to the audience, you know, it's very different sometimes the way they think. You know, sometimes when I plan a joke, a lot of my movies are funny, and when I plan a joke and I think I know where the audience is going to laugh, and they're not laughing, it's like a punch in the stomach. On the other hand, sometimes they laugh when they weren't meant to laugh. Is it okay? Yes, it's okay. I was not embarrassed yet. Hopefully, it's not going to happen.
Amazing. But Kobi, that fear though, is that, so, I mean, I know a lot of people, I'm a coder, I'm a software engineer by profession and an investor. And when I go and I look at deals or I look at code that I write and I pass it on to others, I don't really care if they criticize it, if they say it's awful, if I have to redo it. It's objective, it's science, it's math. But when you put an art into something, you put your heart there, I'm sure it's really hard to make that distinction. And maybe you haven't gotten burned, but is this something, a phenomenon in the industry that people are fearful of, or is this, or do you exemplify it common?
I'm fearful. First of all, you know, there are a couple of audiences that watches your film. The first one is the actual audience that buy tickets and goes to the theater, and they're my main focus. I want as many as I can to come to the theaters and enjoy the movie. That's my main focus. The other kind of audience is the critics.
Right.
I really want the critics to like my movie, but their opinion is only their opinion. So although it has some distribution, maybe bigger than n equals 1, it's, you know, it hurts when someone writes something bad on your movie. It happened to me. The third audience is my sponsors and my investors. I really want them to think it's a good movie. So I'm mainly focuses on the big audience, the real people, and my investors. The others, I can live without their love.
How do you work? I want to know your station. Do you have a computer, and when you write a script or a movie, do you just sit down and start writing on a Word document? Do you write it by hand on a big wall? How does it work?
Well, these days I'm actually thinking about a new idea. I'm just done with the filming of my new movie, and it's now in the process of editing. So I'm actually thinking about a new idea. I don't know if it's gonna be a movie or a series or whatever, but I'm like, it's a stew inside my head. I'm thinking about it a lot, and for the last 4 days, I think I have a story in my head, and I'm thinking about tomorrow start just sitting in front of my PC, a stationary computer, not a laptop, not an iPad, not in a restaurant or a coffee shop, in my house, in my small room, the one I'm sitting here in right now, and I start writing drafts.
Is it just like word vomit? Do you just write as much as you can and then, you know, sleep on it and revise, or do you really think through every?
No, I think through. I think it's true, and nevertheless, some of it is vomit. Some of it is going to be erased in a day, and the new thing is going to come up. It's a process of, I don't know, 2 weeks to write just the synopsis, the three good pages of the story with all the outlines and the main characters and everything.
Do you miss going back in front of the camera and being the star?
I'm still in front of the camera. Actually, until the COVID-19 pandemic, I had a daily show, 6 days a week with Yael Bar-Zohar. It was called the Daily Report.
Yeah,
6 days a week. So I'm pretty much every day on TV, and it's a major broadcaster in its Reshet. And I've just since the COVID-19 pandemic happened, we were laid off, but I was just given the very pleasant news today that we're coming back next week. So I'm still on TV. It's a relief, you know.
But it's very different, this kind of TV, than what you write, because it's two different worlds. One, you're a host, the Report with Yael Barzor, it's a great show, but you're not acting, you're hosting. And then you're a fiction writer for movies and series where it's completely, made up and stories that you're creating, right?
Yeah, but it's no different than you being a great cook and being a computer engineer.
Right.
I mean, we all have, some of the things I don't like on the little screen or the big screen is that it tries. People are always trying to make a two-dimension picture of you. I'm a three-dimension person, and I have a lot of interests. So I can write and I can host and I can do a couple. I actually can cook. So, and I'm a really good father, I think. So I have a lot of interests, and one of them gives me the relief from the other. I mean, if I only did writing or directing, I would go crazy. Also, if I was only a host, I would probably be in a sanctuary right now. So hopefully I do both.
This passion that you have of trying interdisciplinary things and going out to your passions shines through the screen. But I want one piece of advice that you would give to any young person, not necessarily an entrepreneur, coder, actor, musician, whatever. Any person who wants to go after their dream, is a little bit hesitant, and from what I learned, and I didn't know all this about you, is about how passionate you are about going through things that you enjoy and you really love without being scared of what others will say or whether it fits this narrow box that people are trying to put you in.
Yeah, I think my main advice, I give advice to a lot of young people. A lot of people approach me and ask for my advice, wants to send me scripts they've written from the ages of 14 until the oldest I've got a script from was, I think, 65.
Wow.
And I never turn down nobody. I read and I give them advice. Not always. I can't always help, and I can't always take the idea, but I give them advice and maybe some pinpoints to how to make it better. Sometimes it's not good enough, and I tell the truth softly, but I'm telling the truth always. My main advice for those people is to stay very, very curious. When you're curious, as I am, you explore, and when you explore, you discover a lot of things. The way I've become a director was through me being a host and a writer. I was watching the people that I worked with. I wanted to know what kind of camera they used. Why are they using this kind of dolly and not the other one? How can you make this effect and not the other? And so on. And I taught myself a little bit of editing and a little bit of content editing and a lot of things that are not necessarily exactly directing, but I've broadened my horizons. And when I've done that, I think I've become a better host and a better director. So being curious is very important.
I love it. Okay, so Kobi, 3 words that describe you. One of them is curious. I'm going to use that already.
I just wanted to say curious, because I think, a lot of people think being smart, okay, I'll give you another one that I'm very good at. I'm very organized.
Okay.
And one of the psychologists I worked with, I had a very interesting show on television with Professor Amos Rodi there. He taught me that he always says that the person who succeeds in life is the one who is organized over the one who is smart. And I mean, it's very good to be both. But if you have to choose one, being organized is very, very important. And I'm very, if you could see my table here, it's very organized. And I think because I do all sorts of things and there's a lot of scrambled eggs inside my head, I need some some organization to the system. And being organized is a very important thing. Being curious is very important. And I think the third, which I'm not sure I'm always good at, but it's very important to stay humble. And I say that because, of course, as a person on TV, I also made this scene of hubris. Everybody does that. On television, we tend to think that the sun shines from our butts. It's never true. And times like this, like COVID-19, and what it happened, what it made to our industry, made a lot of people very, very humble. And being humble in the first place gives you a soft cushion to land on.
I love it. Kobi, I can't believe 20 minutes are up, and this was so inspiring. Toda rabba for all the information and for giving me so much enjoyment growing up, really.
Very much. This is actually footage from my new film. It's called Full Speed.
Full Speed. When
Full
is
Speed.
Is it going to be in theaters? On how do we even watch it after COVID-19?
Oh, of course. It's going to be, well, the premiere is supposed to be on August, 1st of August. Hopefully, if everything's it's going to be okay with the COVID-19 thing. Actually, we're depending on the Hollywood industry to release their films that will ignite the Israeli film industry. So I'm going to be ready, and it's a great movie about women, strength. It's really good.
I can't wait. Kobi.
And it was written by a man. Thank you very much, Michael.
Toda rabba. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.